I love this. The book of Ecclesiastes in the Bible, chapter 4, verses 9 through 10 says, "Two people are better off than one, for they can help each other succeed. If one person falls, the other can reach out and help, but someone who falls alone is in real trouble." I would love to introduce to you today my special guest. Her name is Kristin Kurtz. She's a life coach. And why would you need a life coach? I don't know. There's a million reasons. Her story is a brilliant example of how someone can really come in and cheer you on and help you dig out the gold in your life. Like figure out, what is my call in life? What is my purpose? I don't know about you, but I don't feel like we were ever called to do life alone. And in today's society where we are more isolated than ever before, I think having a life coach could really come in handy. Anyway, welcome my friends today to Liberty Wellness & Co. I am Rebecca Stuart, your host. This is the place where we talk about all things health and we have a lot of fun. Lots of stories, lots of laughs. I hope you feel empowered and encouraged today. Thank you for listening. Oh, and if you get a moment, please pause for a second and maybe hit give me a review or hit some stars or subscribe or something. I would love it if you would support me in just that one little simple way. It would really make a world of difference. Thank you. I appreciate it. Enjoy. From what I know, you were working in an office of some kind, right? And you were really feeling the Lord tug you in a different direction. And you changed your life dramatically. Can you talk a little bit about that and how you moved through that and why you did that?
Yes, I would love to. So thank you for having me on. First of all, this is going to be really fun. I just love you. I know we've talked previously and I'm like, we just talked a little bit beforehand and you guys, Rebecca's the real deal here. So thank you again for having me on. Yes, so it's wild because on November 1st of 2021, I left a safe and secure job that most people probably wouldn't have left because it looked great on paper. Good paycheck, great benefits, you get okay, and all the things that the world tells you that you need to succeed, right? But I felt like I was in a cage, literally. I felt like my wings were clipped. My business name is New Wings Coaching, so I'm all about like freedom and eagles and butterflies and soaring. And I felt like I was literally like this caged winged thing that couldn't escape. And I knew that there was keys, but I didn't know where they were. And I didn't feel the release yet to leave the job. But there was a turn of events with things that happened with COVID, and I was definitely not on board with some things. I worked in the corporate side of healthcare. When I say healthcare, I put quotes up. And I that year of 2021, it was March, and I was on a walk and I heard my spirit go. And I knew that it was like, it's time to go. But my husband at the time said no. And I said, oh, so it
That's
was
a lot
like,
of the similar
go,
conversations
no,
between my husband.
go, no. Okay. So I hung on to it because I knew that there was going to be a shift that was going to come. And there was another like turn of events that happened that summer. And there was something that happened that I was like literally sitting outside crying. And I'm like, I can't do this anymore. I told my husband when he got home and he's like, then just quit. And I was just like, it's like, I literally almost like, if I had a vision at that point, I saw like chains literally breaking and I knew that the cage door was open. Now I got this tattoo, if you can see it.
It's a bird cage.
It's like a bird cage with a dove coming out of it. I had gotten that in October of 2020 as a prophetic reminder that I would be freed. And I knew at that moment that that was like my freedom.
Yes.
November 1st of 2021, 11/1/21 was my last day. And I always think of Hebrews 11:1. Even the chapter Hebrews 11 is kind of the heroes of the faith. And I knew that it was going to be a wild journey of faith, right? Because Dave Ramsey would probably have been like, you're not really ready yet. You don't have all your ducks in a row. Dave Ramsey, he's
Absolutely.
the money man. So we didn't have all of the ducks in a row that you would actually leave in a job. Yeah, so I actually have been a life coach. Prior to that, I started my business in 2017. And a lot of what I do is work with women in their calling, and yet there I was, like, not fully walking it out yet up until that point.
Wow. So you started your coaching in 17 and you left in 21. So through that period of time, you weren't actually kind of walking out what you were teaching others. Is that what you said? I
Not
mean,
fully yet. I mean, I was still doing the coaching on the side, but there was this tension of knowing that there was this in between, and I needed my husband's backing to leave the job. You know what I'm saying? So it was excruciating, but there were tools that I brought in to help me keep going to the job and somehow like be okay with it. I brought puzzles to work. I brought coloring books to work. I tried to help people like enjoy their day. I actually ran some workout classes during the lunch hour just
oh
to,
my goodness.
I mean, I would
Just
go
to
on
break it down in
walks.
any of the
I would
day.
leave the building. Yeah, so there was different ways that I was able to literally like survive, not thrive, but survive, honestly.
Did you find that after stepping away from that, your coaching changed directions as well?
Um, I feel like it just got further amplified. Like I would just like it just felt like fire. I every day I wake up and I'm literally like every year that goes by that I've been out of the job because it probably took me about a year of on Sundays not having that Sunday like, oh my goodness, I have to work. Literally, it took about a year. Honestly, I don't because I worked since I was about 14, so that's about 30 years of having, you know, a paycheck and the secure money coming in. So it took about a year to fully realize that I was actually fully free. Isn't that crazy?
That's a long time.
I
Your
know.
nervous system must have just been so trained from all those years that it did. Wow. So what were some things that like God took you through to help you adjust through that?
Well, I did a lot of resting, and he actually showed me because of I was kind of in a COVID war, I would say, in that realm that I was working in. I was using my voice in ways that people didn't really like much. And he actually showed me to kind of take a sabbatical after I left. So about the first 6 months, I really wasn't doing a lot. I actually took my website down, and I'm like, "Lord, really? Like, I don't have a paycheck coming in right now."
Right?
So there was a lot of, like, doing things that didn't make sense, to be honest with you. I did a lot of resting. I started kind of building a different foundation for my business, like going, "Okay, as far as time goes, what did I want when I was in the job?" Well, I wanted to have Fridays open. I didn't wanna have anybody scheduling calls with me on Fridays. I wanted that to be my creative day. I wanted that to be my hammock in the summer day or go for a walk when I feel like it day. So that's what I've really done at that point. I was kind of building these different foundations of like systems and boundaries and what does my business need, but also what do I need and who am I? Because I had to kind of unwind from that whole world of being conditioned to operate in a certain way.
Right. Um, can you talk a little bit more about that? Like how you unwound in your identity and being like your hours are worth a paycheck to what the a new season, a new assignment that you've been kind of given, I guess. I'm wording that okay.
Yeah. So just kind of going from looking at, you know, because I'm a solopreneur, like I'm the chief empowerment officer and the Lord's the CFO. So I really, you know, I was getting these different programs that I could offer, asking him for pricing. And there's just been a lot of things that people on paper would say that that doesn't really make sense, honestly.
So where did you find the courage to like really dig into that and not lean into what everyone else is saying how
Well,
things should go?
I honestly feel like it's in my DNA, but it's also become have you ever heard of anybody doing like a birth verse? This is maybe something I kind of made up, but I do this with my clients. So my birthday is 12/2, and I thought, well, I'm going to go in the Bible and find, you know, chapter 12 verse 2, right? Well, the verse that really stood out to me, I'll read it to you if you'd like to hear it.
Yeah.
which is basically like it says it all of kind of who I am. I don't want to mess it up because I know it, but do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, that by testing you may discern what is the will of God, what is good and acceptable and perfect. That first part, it just says it all because honestly, a lot of times I say, I don't fit in a box, I burned them.
I like it.
Like,
Kim
I
Walker
just
Smith's
don't.
song of
Yes,
boxes. It's so
that's
good.
everything. It's
Oh my
like,
gosh.
I put that on my business theme songs list. The first time I heard it, I was like,
I
"That's
know.
it.
I
That's
played
it.
it over and over again.
It is the best." But yeah, I mean, I feel like I do. There's something in me that just and I think even over the years, especially when it comes to business, especially when I first got into business, my first business realm was in network marketing, and I was like, I don't know what I'm doing, so everybody's telling me what to do, and I just did what everybody told me to do because I didn't know what I was doing, and I also wasn't like partnering with God at that time in business. I kind of had him over here, right? Because I think a lot of people do that. And then it was probably about 20 around the time I started my coaching business that I was like, there has to be a different way. And I was actually part of a community that like really helped me to integrate, like ask God for your pricing, ask him for the programs, ask him for all the things, like seek first the kingdom. And it just helped me to unwind from kind of that, I don't know if this will make sense, but part of my DNA as well. I do feel like I'm kind of a workhorse. Like my generations before me just strived and hustled and grind, that kind of thing where they just keep working, work, like work 12-hour days. And I just kind of was like, I don't think that's how it's supposed to be. So I started learning what I call unwinding from grinding. And in 2017 was when I went through coaching school. And then about a week after coaching school, my dad passed away. And one of the last things he said to me, because he worked so much that he literally, like, everything started shutting down. He said, like, don't work so hard, you'll end up like me. And I took that to heart, right? And then I got shingles after that because I was working a full time job, going through school for coaching and starting my coaching practice, kids, so much going on. And at that moment, that was actually, I'm totally getting into another story here. Is that okay?
That's great. I love it.
Okay. That was actually when I first heard like his still small voice, honestly. And I heard still and know that I am God and you are not.
It's a rough
I was
one.
like, you talking to me? And I was literally taught how to walk because I was running through life. So that was quite the experience. You talked about the nervous system. Grew up in a lot of trauma, so I had this kind of fight or flight type scenario going on in my life quite a bit. And I added the word, probably within the last 5 years or so, like fight or flight or free. So that's what I've been offered is freedom. And I love offering that to others because we don't have to stay in the fight or flight, even though we need to fight. And I love flying. Like the Lord calls me a flight attendant, but we don't need to stay in that kind of, you know what I'm saying?
So, okay, you mentioned a couple times about hearing God's voice. So I know I'm going to get this question, but how do you hear God's voice? Like when God speaks to you, what is that like? I hear that from my kids. Mom, tell me how does God talk to you? Like,
Yeah.
help me learn this so that I
Yeah.
can walk in that and what he tells me to do?
Well, actually being part of that community that I told you about that I was in to help, just this whole unwinding from grinding, I'll never forget one of the ladies said, see God in the details, 5 words. And I started just opening my eyes up to especially being outside. He talks to me a lot through like nature. One of the ways he talks to me is actually even today. I was leaving a message for a friend. I was driving because I'll do a lot of, I know it's terrible, but I do. I send voice messages to people when I'm driving. And I just had said something and I look in front of me and there is a van that says crown. There's a crown, like a crown on it. And it tied into what I had just said. So to me, like, he shows me a lot through license plates. He shows me a lot through the sky. I see eagles all the time. I walked out of the gym yesterday because this week has been, you mentioned the word significant to me before we started this. Like, I even posted, I think I said, like, this is so significant. I walk out of the gym and there is an eagle literally soaring right over my head. I mean, you can't make this stuff up.
Mm.
He talks to me through the Bible. He really talks to me through music. I would say
Really?
that's one of my favorite ways he talks to me. People call me God's DJ.
That's
Yeah.
true, like, when I first started following you on Instagram years ago, you would put all these beautiful new worship songs, and that's how I learned about so many people. It was
Yeah.
awesome and
Yeah.
discovered, like, a whole new world of, like, worship music out there. I was like, "What? This is
I
amazing."
know. Isn't that interesting? Yeah, because that's what people say. They're like, "How do you find this stuff?" I'm like, "I don't know. It just comes."
Just
I
come.
have a friend who's making a huge transition actually today, and, like, the song that comes to me for her was "Sailing" by Christopher Cross, which is from the '80s. I mean, you don't make this stuff up. So a lot of times I'll prophetically hear songs for people. I actually integrate music into coaching sessions too. But I would say music is a huge way. He'll often, I call it a lyrical alarm. He'll wake me up at like 5 in the morning before my alarm goes off, which sometimes I'm like, I want to sleep longer. Anybody else do that? Anybody else get woken up by the Lord earlier than you want to?
Yes.
I'm not complaining, but sometimes he'll send like, I literally will hear this song really loud, and it might even be like a secular song, but when I go listen to the lyrics, a lot of times it's like a love song. I feel like he's singing a love song over me, and it's just so sweet. So, yeah, I mean, there's so many different ways I do hear that still small voice a lot. Sometimes I hear like a booming voice, not as much as like that, it's just, you just know, because a lot of times it's going to be something so outside of your wheelhouse. Like when I'm coaching people, I'll hear this word and I have to actually go look it up in the dictionary. And then it's like, whoa,
That's wild when that happens.
isn't it fun? Because he's fun. I think he's so fun.
Is that something that you do with your clients? So when you coach clients, do you help them really hear the Lord's voice and then have, I don't know, encourage them with courage to honor and obey and follow it and just go for it? Like, just jump off the cliff and just do it?
Yeah. So one of my other little titles is an eagle mama. Do you know how eagles
Yes.
get their babies to fly?
Yeah. My daughter, she was complaining, "Mom, why don't you just do everything for me like my friends' moms do for them?" And I'm like, "Because we gotta strengthen your wings because 'cause you're about to leave the nest and you need to be able to fly on your own. So,
No?
I'm not making it hard on purpose. I'm just stepping out of the way. But, this is how an eagle mama does it. She makes it hard on purpose.
Yeah, she
So just be
does.
grateful I don't do that."
Yeah. Well, it starts out with the nest is all fluffy for the babies, and then they start bringing in, like, pokey sticks, and then they're like, we're really uncomfortable." So I feel like I do at times make my clients uncomfortable because it's part of the process, right? This faith journey is not always comfortable, right? But absolutely. I'm not sure if you've ever had a coach before, at least for me, when I'm working with people, I ask a lot of questions that will ask, Holy Spirit, and they'll get an answer and it's just like, what just happened? And we'll kind of dig into it. We'll go deeper, dig out the gold maybe in who are you? Like, what are you called to do? Who is he calling you? What is he calling you to do? Where are you going? And, by the end of the session, like there's just an acceleration on what he's calling these women to do that maybe they never thought they'd do. I had 2 clients last month publish books. I had one client leave her, like, kind of move in her business from doing one thing to now being a book publisher. So she published her book and she actually published one of my other clients' books.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's like these things that I don't know. I think of a well and you need like a bucket to get the water out. And I think we have a lot of water. I'm just using a parable here. And we sometimes need somebody to help like draw the water out, right? We just don't even know what's in us sometimes, and that's why I know I can't do what I'm doing without other people holding my arms up. There's no way,
Absolutely.
right?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, just last week in I think it was last week, my like newsletter was just, letting everyone know like practitioners also need practitioners. Like I need my cohort because yeah, I have my moments where I'm spiraling. I can't do this, the whole
Yeah,
what am I doing with myself? Like it just and you
yeah,
just and I have one friend who's a practitioner and she's in Miami. She's Cuban and she's just got
yeah.
that fire. And she's like, Rebecca, you know what you need to do. So just suck it up and just do it. And I was like, I knew.
And then, like, what did that do for you? Like, when she said that?
It was kind of like, it was funny. My other friend that is kind of like on the other, I have kind of two, and they're polar opposites. I have one who's like the complete gentle love. She's like, and the other one who's like, suck it up, buttercup, just do it, like. So I really needed the swift kick in the pants. I really needed someone to just kind of almost smack me out of that spiral and just be like, you're
Yeah,
fine. You're
yeah,
fine. You know what to do. Stop it.
yeah.
Just stop and
Just
just
stop
breathe
it.
and
Yeah,
think and then make a plan and move forward.
yeah.
Yeah, the tough love I think actually works sometimes. Not
Yeah,
all the time, but I
that was
think
that.
I
No.
don't know. I feel like I'm surrounded by people who are so scared to give some tough love sometimes, but I need it because
Yeah,
I
we
just, yeah.
do. Yeah, I mean, one of the things I tell people, and this might not everybody understands this, and that's okay, but I tell people I'm like a but God said coach. Like, what is your but God said? Because you're going to have enough but what ifs. You're going to have enough but what if people, right?
Mhm.
Like Nehemiah, he's like, I am doing a good work and I'm not coming down. Like, that is what I want to tell people is like, you are doing a good work. Do not come down. Even if you've got all these little mocker people that are like, what's your plan B? Like, when I left the job, I mean, on paper, it looks crazy. But look at a lot of the people in the Bible, the things that they did that are in this book. The people that are highlighted, they didn't have non,
They didn't have
like
to,
a lot of things didn't make sense, right?
yeah.
So we need to, like I believe we need people on our race, right? As we're running, like we need people to help us finish races. We need people to give us water along the way, and it looks different for each season because it is a race. It's a marathon, and it's a marathon that we can't quit as long as he keeps saying keep going, keep going. I told people like if I were to rename my business now, he gave me my business name, so I'm not going to rename it. But my doing business as is keep going coaching. Because
Oh,
I have to I tell myself daily, keep going. I tell others, keep going. But you got to know why are you doing it in the first place? It can't just be about your income.
no,
It can't just be about the outcome. There has to be a deep, deep why. Think of that well. There has to be a deep why to what you're doing.
that's so good. That deep why. I didn't mention this to you before, but I wrote and I launched and run an online homeschool high school health course. And the very first like lesson is the why. Because I feel like if the kids aren't going to get the why you even need to be healthy? Why is health even important? The rest of the class is just absolutely useless. And digging into that one particular module was just has been really fascinating for me. And, a man without a vision will perish, just all these things. And for the years that I was in, a school bus driver.
Yeah.
It's like, why am I here? Why am I doing this? And I'd have moments and glimpses of, God grace moments and purpose and different things, but it was just like, ugh, this was draining me. The
Yeah.
why wasn't for me in that role was not good enough
Yeah.
to to
For
make it a
sure.
passion and a joy of a career. And so yeah, thankfully the Lord took me out of that, but I think you're right. You just nailed that on the head. A why is just and
Yeah.
knowing and understanding that is really
Right.
important.
Yeah. And it can't be surface level, like talking about like the health realm, right? I did I did quite a bit of work back in the day with some other things I was doing and doing health stuff, right? And a lot of times people had just this surface level, like, oh, I want to look good in my bathing suit or I want to look good in my wedding dress. And it's like that is not sustainable.
That's not going to
That
keep
is
you from
not
eating
that is
crap.
not
Yeah.
gonna help you, honey, you know? So when it comes to like the work that I do, especially when it comes to taking big steps, there has to be a deep why, but there also has to be a deep knowing that
Mhm.
God is setting you out on this course. But you might only see the very first stepping stone, but he knows all the, steps in front of you. You just might only literally see that one step. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Wow. So, as you've been working in this business and you've been coaching people, kind of, I don't know, maybe could you give me a little bit of how you see the climate right now in our country and in our culture, and maybe describe a little bit of that and how, I don't know, what lights you up and gives you hope today with what you see?
Yeah. Well, I love the word hope. I actually have a podcast called Hope Unlocked. And like you, I get to interview people, and I'm interviewing a lot of people that are in ministry, business, who are doing really wild and crazy things and are continuing to keep going. And I'll definitely have you on sometime
Honor.
if you are led to. But in speaking to a lot of clients without, I'm very confidential. But kind of like the surface level, being a connector as well. Like I talk to a lot of people, and I feel like there's just like this army of people that are walking out this huge faith journey, and they've maybe left behind jobs or they've stepped into something that's way beyond them, and they're releasing things that are way beyond them in this climate that we're in. I think of even there's a climate on social media that has changed quite a bit.
Hmm.
I would say there's a huge identity crisis going on, and people are getting caught up in the swirl of that. The enemy is definitely on a mission to steal, kill, and destroy. And I would add to that divide.
Yeah.
That's a huge thing. And I think about like our words, a big part of what I love to see women do is to unleash their roar, their voices. But what are we speaking about? Like, are we bringing life or are we speaking death? Right. So there's just a lot of volatile conversations happening. I just kind of go, okay, yeah, you can so see what the enemy is trying to do here. And I feel like we need to counter that with his words, his encouragement, his hope. And then ultimately, what I like to say is serve fruit, serve the fruits of the Spirit, serve love, serve joy, serve peace. And it's going to counter what we're seeing. That's my belief, at least.
That's really good. I love that. Serve the fruits.
Yeah. It's
What?
like I just see like a fruit bowl. Like just bring a fruit bowl with you.
Maybe fruit bowl. And but so you're saying you see a lot of people kind of stepping into new things. You feel like there is a shift happening
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
atmosphere amongst like the church and people in general, or
Yeah.
people
I
having.
do. I mean, I see a lot of people like in this, deconstructing. I see a lot of people like just even the church is like almost fighting against itself. But in that, I do believe that there's going to be like reformation. There's going to be transformation. There's going to be like a lot of people are coming back to the church, just even with what we saw with Charlie Kirk last month, which was horrible. His life was the epitome of somebody who, people love him, hate him, whatever. But if you look at his life, he was willing to be one who did not conform to the patterns of this world and was willing to speak about things that, he believed, right? Biblical, and going into the places where you're going into the lion's den, basically. I do believe that it's really ignited people, at least people that I talk to. I'm seeing even my own young men that are like posting things that maybe I didn't see before. I'm seeing some other family members who are starting to come to church, which didn't happen before. Yeah.
does give hope, doesn't it?
Hmm.
So with kind of what you're seeing and clients that you're working with just generally, those who are starting to use their voice, who are making some changes and walking in a shift in life, what are some of your favorite tools or I don't know, foundational stones of maintaining that courage and faith to keep
Yeah.
going when like to start something's easy. Like
Yeah.
honestly. And,
Yes.
and then quitting the job, I'm sure for you was probably the most scariest thing ever, but probably the easiest thing that you've gone through in the last couple of years. I mean,
It's
to
wild.
keep going is like that's like,
Yeah.
like
It can be. Yeah. Yeah.
what
I
are some
mean,
of your like keys to help?
yes. The keys. I love the keys. Keys are my favorite. Um, well, I call myself a book-ended introvert. So getting poured into in the morning, like being in the word, worship, reading books that are like going to fill me up because we need to be filled up, especially as ones that pour out. And then I go into my day and pour out, pour out, pour out, pour out. And at the end of the day, I need to be filled back up, whether it's in the word or worship or, I mean, it's not like I don't throughout the day because I often have like worship music on or I'll be listening to like a sermon, but it's just continuing to get the word and having people in my corner who support me because I'm not one who's going to share every single thing with the world. I mean, I don't feel like there's wisdom in that. I believe that we should have like an inner circle, kind of like, the inner courts, the outer courts. I would call myself like a midwife, a spiritual midwife to help women birth things. And if you think about it, like with me, I didn't want anybody but my husband in the birthing room.
Right.
So having people
Very
that
vulnerable.
know the innards of yourself and what you're walking through, having those people in your corner, having prayer partners to help pray you up.
Yeah.
Like those, Aaron, I have my Aaron and her who I send them like prayer updates periodically. I've got some SOS people as well.
Love
So
SOS people.
it's just being bolstered, right? Yeah.
Those are your keys to
Yeah.
sustaining courage and to
And
keep
I work
going.
out. I feel like working out is a huge part of it too.
My goodness.
Like I do a lot of strength training and especially last month, I keep hearing that verse, Psalm 144:1, like you're training your hands for war.
I'm so gonna use that in our module next week for movement. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
Actually, I can't
seriously.
because it's not a Christian class, but yeah, I'm gonna
Well, you
wow.
could say
There's
something. But when I'm doing these strength training classes, it's like, okay, like, because there's this strength that can come obviously from the word, and especially if you're, I don't know, I just get this visual of like, yeah, I'm like training my hand, like he's got me training my hands as a warrior, you know?
love it.
That's fun.
That is so much.
So check this out. You want to hear something fun? Speaking of license plates, so I remember hearing that. This was probably about a month ago as I'm like lifting weights and I'm in this weight strength training class, group fitness. And all of a sudden I heard train your hands for war. It was like repeating, train your hands for war. And I'm like, I think that's a verse. I think that's a Bible verse. So I left the class, got in my car, and I checked, and it was Psalm 144:1, like I mentioned. The very next day, I'm driving. I come up to a stoplight, and the license plate said first, like 1ST144. Like you can't make this stuff up. I was like, okay, I see you. Yep. That's a very wonderful confirmation. So I actually integrated. I have a book coming out in about a month, and that's now I was able to tuck it in there after this happened.
What's your book about?
Well, it's going to be called Fit for the Call.
Fit for the call.
So one of the chapter I won't give away too much yet, but one of the chapters is weight training, WAIT training.
Oh, that's the worst. I'm not gonna lie. I hate it when God tells me to wait. It's the hardest. It is a training season for sure, but I think it's harder than leg day than gym.
It is. It can be excruciating. So I get into that a lot of it because I love asking people questions and I'm a very curious person. Like another title the Lord gave me is a woman of wonder, which is fun. So even tucked in it, there's music integrated in the book, there's questions so people can dig deeper because I love helping people like dig, dig and dig and dig. But it's very different. It's completely different. As you can probably imagine, like he calls me to do things different and it's very unique. I shared with you before we got started, I got to see the cover, and one of my clients who became that publisher is the one who's working on it, and she's working in her sweet spot, that's for sure. She is really amazing.
I think one thing that I really appreciate just from your life and seeing or hearing your story is there's always hope for like another chapter. And it doesn't matter really where you are, how old you are, and I think there's just so much like my daughter's at university, my son's getting ready to go to university next year, and there's all this pressure, like, what are you going to be when you grow up? And you have to like choose, and then like that's it. And it's just like, if my life has taught me anything is like seasons change and but I never thought that I would go from being, missionary to homeschool mom, school bus driver to nutritionist,
Yeah,
like
right.
radical different seasons.
Yeah.
But it was a conversation with you, like we talked about like a few years ago. You shared your story with me because I'd been stuck in this really long season, and I was like, I'm not too old to just take a leap of faith and make a big change, or for God to provide a whole new like way of doing life.
Yeah.
Do you find that that's something that a lot of people in our generation kind of struggle with accepting being able to do and trying to do it, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with you, like, it's never too late. Never. Never too late. I had a gal on my podcast, she released her first book in her 80s,
Oh my goodness.
right? I agree with you. Like, I think of, pre-high school, end of high school, you're almost like cattle being prodded into different rows of like, "Okay, you're going down this path," and you look at a sheet of paper, and these are the salaries you can make. I don't know if that's how it was for you at school.
Absolutely.
It's like, "Okay, well, you could be a doctor, a lawyer, or a teacher," and, there wasn't, like, a lot of creativity mixed in there, if that makes sense.
That makes good sense.
So I think a lot of let's just use doctors, for example, okay? How many kids went into college to be a doctor for the why of the money? And how many doctors are now doctors who don't have a strong why? I'm just gonna leave that out there for somebody.
Well,
Um,
and then you've got most doctors graduating in $300,000-$400,000 of debt from medical school.
yeah. So how many doctors do you think are gonna, like, eject and go on a different path? Maybe some, but I just look at, like, both of us, we've taken a different turn. We had like this fork in the road. We had a choice to leave behind what we were currently doing and move on to the next thing that the Lord was calling us to. And I do feel like it takes either some kind of um, event to happen for a shift that kind of rattles you a little bit. It could be, I mean, I'll just use like a loss of a family member or a friend who you just realize like, wow, life is too short to be just working for a paycheck or just working for benefits. And I do feel like I do work with all ages from these to 60s, but part of me has been wondering if I should start getting with the teenagers and help them discover who are you and like what do you actually like thrive in? Do you love art? Do you love singing? Like, because I do see a lot of women that I work with who have a very strong creative bend that got buried.
Mm,
So we get to kind of pull it back out again
wow.
because the world doesn't necessarily celebrate certain professions. as much as others, right?
Yeah. Wow.
That was a long explanation, but
That's great though. The fact though that creativity has almost been stunted from the thriving, or not the thriving, the surviving and the striving. But once you start understand, what I'm hearing you say is basically when you start digging into who the Lord sees you and who you really are, that that well of creativity starts to come back again, right? That's
totally,
amazing. That's
right?
amazing. I love
I
that. I
mean,
mean, wow. Go ahead.
a lot of yeah, a lot of times, even like I was saying when I was still working at a job, I just felt like I was supposed to bring coloring books to work because I would ask people, especially towards like 3 years before I had left, I was just feeling like, "There's more." I mean, it was
Right.
this strong, like, "More, there's more, there's more, there's more," and, I would ask people, like, because 'cause I'm a coach, I love asking questions, and, like, "What do you do for fun?" And there would be like, "I don't do anything for fun. I don't even know the last time I've done anything fun. I work all the time, and when I get home, I'm so tired I don't wanna do anything fun, or I have so many health problems from the stress that I'm under that I don't my body doesn't it is incapable of having fun. And that got me thinking, "Okay, well, I'm gonna bring some fun to work,"
I love
even
it.
though it's not really, like, super fun. But taking time to get away from your desk and color and use a different part of your brain and put puzzles together, get you out of your I called it the cubicle farm, like the caged chickens. And some of us were not called to be caged. We were called to be like free range chickens. But I am not a chicken, I'm an eagle. So I didn't belong in a chicken coop. And some of you aren't called to be in the chicken coop either. I'm just going to say, if that's you, you're probably hearing me right now.
So what would someone expect, like, what's kind of your process in how you work with someone? Does that look the same for everybody? Or I'm going to assume that it
No,
doesn't. Do you have a
it
process
doesn't. I
that you
mean,
kind of work through and
I,
bob and weave through? Or
yeah, I mean, I do. A lot of times, I mean, I have like this coaching portal that people can go into. I call it like the coaching house, and they can fill out this pre coaching form prior to our calls. But 9 times out of 10, they don't want to. Like, once they've had, we call it a winging it or a freestyle call, they actually are more excited to see just what will happen without an intention, like, going in. So we go in. I mentioned I integrate music into coaching, and I don't wanna give all the secrets away, but music is definitely a big key for coaching. So we'll integrate music, and it does kinda sets the course for the call because I do believe that it is a way that God can speak to us, and they often will hear him speaking to them through lyrics. And then there will, a question of like, "Hey, like, what are you thinking that you would like to talk about today?" A lot of times we get to the end of the call and it's like, "What just happened?" After like 45 minutes. And, I'm currently working with a new client who we've just had 2 calls and her voice has literally been unleashed. She's without giving away any information about her. She is called to be like a prophet to the nations, a revivalist, and her voice has now gotten re unlocked. And there's a ripple effect that happens when you're unlocked. So I like to call the Lord showed me there's actually like the overarching program is called Unlock Her. He gave me the word unlock in small letters and then her in big letters. So it's Unlocker
fun.
because he's called me to
That's so
be like a
fun.
locksmith that has keys that'll help unlock women. And so it's a lot of asking questions. I'll get questions from Holy Spirit that we don't often sit in front of the mirror and go, Kristen, what do you feel the Lord's calling you to? You know what I mean? We don't really sit with ourselves, and it's such a beautiful process. At the end of the call, I'll ask if they could have come to these realizations on their own, and they're always like, "There is no way."
We live in such a distraction society. Like on the phone. I mean, especially women with kids or marriages or jobs. It's just, there's just bombardment everywhere all the time. It is really hard to just stop the noise.
Yeah,
Wow, to have that
yeah.
moment.
Yeah. And at the end of the call as well, like I have this question that I'm sure most coaches don't ask, but one of the questions is like, how will you rest? How are you going to celebrate yourself? Sometimes we need to celebrate before the celebration. I did that last week for something that's happening in my life. I knew something was potentially going to happen. And I'm like, hey, Adam, let's get dinner out. Like, let's celebrate something before it's happening.
Reminds me of that song by Brian and Katie Torwalt, Praise Before My Breakthrough.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, that song came up in coaching session yesterday.
Oh, that's awesome. I have really leaned into that particular song in many
So
hard
good.
seasons.
Me too. That actually was one that when I was working at the job, I remember pulling into the parking lot one day and I literally put myself in the back end of the parking lot and I was literally bawling before I went into work because it was just that there's more, you know?
Oh, that's so good. I love it. Thank you so much. Is there anything else that you would like to share that's on your heart that
Yeah. Well, I just feel like there's two words that you need to remember is keep going. Like don't give up even if it looks like the circumstances lie to you.
circumstances lie to you? How do circumstances lie?
Well, there are things in our life, right? So I could have been in my cubicle and thought the lies from the enemy would be you're just going to be stuck here for the rest of your life because on paper it didn't look like I could leave a job, right?
Right.
So there's certain circumstances. So I don't. Maybe I'm generalizing too much, but circumstances can truly lie to you. Like, what thoughts are you going to take about it, right?
So
And what
how
does
do
he want
you
to show you?
Yeah, what does he want to show
What
you?
does he want to show you through these circumstances? The chapter about weight training, there's things that I've been waiting for decades that are starting to like move right now. I could have thought this will never move. This will never happen. And the enemy could try to tell me that too. And when you hear that a lot, you can give up on thinking that there will ever be anything that'll move on that. But we have to keep persevering. I had a friend the other day, she was praying over me and she said, the Lord calls you faithful. So keep going, keep leaning into Him, even if the circumstances don't look like you want them to. They may never look, they're never going to be perfect. I mean, let's just be real.
Never.
But he's on the move. I do believe that we are in an Ephesians 3:20 season right now, that he's doing exceedingly more than we can ask or imagine. Also the Amos 9:13, like things are gonna happen so fast your head is gonna swim season. It's happening to me and I'm seeing it happen to a lot of people, but you gotta keep your head up and you gotta keep your face forward and not look back. So that's what I would say.
That's really powerful.
Definitely, it's Amos 9:13 specifically in the Message version. Just the way that it's worded is like things are going to happen so fast, your head's going to swim. Blessings upon bless. I mean, it's just like, but I feel it, and I know it's happening for a lot of people.
Well, guys, I really don't know what happened there, but we kind of got cut off in our conversation. But here's the deal. I don't know about you, but I freaking love this woman, and I got her book. It's called Fit for the Call, Activate God's Plan for Your Life, and I've been working through it every day, kind of like as a devotional, and it has been amazing. You can find it on Amazon. I'll put the link for it below. If you enjoyed today's chat, please like, subscribe, leave a comment. I do read them all, and I respond if I can.